Well, I would let the music just run, but it seems that the patience of those that have been allowing me to broadcast via their channel is getting a little thin on my disconnecting and reconnecting. Terribly sorry to my hosts. It's not fair to you. But I will. I've been advised not to reconnect if I get disconnected again, and you know that's fine. I understand. But seeing as we are on, I'm gonna continue to broadcast at least until it disconnects. So hopefully, we've managed to resolve the issue. Anyway, like I've been saying, it's not their place to say anything to you about cryptocurrencies. And I believe that in the not so distant future, between kinetic engagements and simply the necessity to get more out of the Bitcoin network, that the miners will start accepting far more than 5,000 transactions per 10 minutes. Now, this already happened a little bit. It's already happened twice before, where the miners have expanded the block size limit or otherwise managed to increase the number of transactions they can fit into each block. And so this shows that pressure is real for them, and they do understand what the solution to it is. You know, things like slipstream and sub Satoshi transaction fees. These are examples of the miners conceding. These are examples of the miners saying, all right, we know it. We need to be processing more transactions. We understand. We get it. You know, we got to do something to include more transactions in the block. Get it. We understand. And so they'll do it. They'll do, like I said, they'll do slipstream. They'll do a variety of techniques to try to, you know, give in just a little bit. You know, get more of those transaction fees. Get that fucking security budget taken care of. But these are paltry moves. They're not enough to draw the interest necessary to make Bitcoin worthwhile. It needs literally thousands upon millions upon tens of millions of miners. And it's going to need that because the hashing power that's being supplied right now is going to get attacked. It'll be a variety of different attacks too. They don't just attack physically. And just to let you guys know, my hosts have told me that they don't want me to keep reconnecting like this. So this will be the last time that I connect for today. However, I've been doing my show on Twitch. So if you like what you're hearing here, you could be hearing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 3 p.m. And if not there, I also post all my videos up on Rumble. And they're on my channel for Frank Dashwood. Anyway, like I was saying, that we are going to have attacks on the Bitcoin network. Physical attacks and software attacks. You know, because these facilities are geographically located, you know, they do exist in corporeal space. Because of that, they can be physically disconnected from the internet in a variety of different ways. So again, the incentive, once it gets high enough, and actually it's pretty high right now. I mean, there's $60,000 a coin. It's not chump change. That if there were adversarial actors out there intent on striking at the capability of certain mining operations and existing, that they would. Again, the incentive has to be high enough, but it'll happen. And just like I think that we've already hit sites in Iran that were dedicated to Bitcoin mining, I believe that there's going to be similar attacks here in the United States and elsewhere on mining operations. Now, whether or not we'll actually be made aware of it, like, if it's actually mentioned in the news that there were mining facilities that were being struck, I don't think we'll see that for a little while. It'll have to be completely unignorable, where like there's a major military clash somewhere and there's a corresponding major drop in hashing power. Then, maybe people might be encouraged to make that correlation. But that after they do, they'll understand decentralization. A lot of the words in association with cryptocurrencies, many of you just like parrot them without any real understanding of what they mean. Like decentralization. Decentralization is not just a buzzword that's an association with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It means that your operations are not located in, or at least not too much of the resources that they depend on, are located in one location. Well, hash farms are by their definition a complete contradiction to this. Like that you can have like 2 or 3% of the network in one physical site. That's a little bit much. Centralization. We keep seeing issues popping up in crypto, and if you really dig down, basically it's centralization, where you guys have just copied other people's codes, bugs and all, and applied them willy-nilly, not understanding that the developer of the previous or the initial or the original had in mind to steal your money all along. This cold card hack, that exploit supposedly sat unhit for 5 years. Somebody want to tell me that nobody knew about it? I mean, there are 0-day exploits in like Windows 95 and stuff that have existed since, or not Windows 95, but Windows 11 that have existed since Windows 95 that nobody supposedly knows about. And so you got to wonder, did anybody know about it? I would posit that maybe somebody did before it was found by an AI, and that they were waiting for the distribution of their software to become significant enough to exploit it. Now, in many cases, I happen to believe that it's governments that are behind this. And it's probably the only aspect of crypto where they actually treat it like it's crypto and it's not fiat, is the aspect of stealing it from you. Then they're keenly aware of it, all of its fucking properties. They suddenly are aware of all the different ways that you could be storing it, Just suddenly aware. Yeah, give me a fucking break. But, the fact of the matter is there is nothing that separates them from you in crypto. There's no king between them and you. And this is something else that I believe they're keenly aware of. It's one of the things they really want to change about crypto. They want to make it just like fiat. So if you look at things that they promote, things like stable coins. Now, look at a stable coin. You can with a single transaction, create billions of new ones. What's that sound like to you? That sounds a lot like the Federal Reserve to me, where they can just press a button and make a few $1 trillion. So you look at what they actually draft legislation for. Oh, lo and behold, stable coins, Genius Act. And when they actually did, when they drafted the legislation, if you couldn't smell Circle's hands all over the fucking thing, then you have not been paying attention to the space at all. Because you would have to be silly to not know that Circle is owned by Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs is one of the banks that runs the Federal Reserve. They're on the board for the Federal Reserve. So now you got to keep those things in mind. Because really, when we're seeing legislation being drafted basically by Goldman Sachs for Circle Coin, you know that Circle is trying to use legislation to kill their competition. Because if you really looked over Genius Act, you read through it, you know that there's no way in hell that Tether could do all of the shit in there. You know, things like audits. Tether doesn't do audits. They do attestations at best. But they don't do audits of their reserves. Now, of course, they're very transparent about the U.S. treasuries that they own and the fact that they own Bitcoin and that they back Tether with it. They're very honest about that stuff, but when it comes to a full audit, a full third-party audit of their reserves, they say no. And so what makes anybody believe that some stupid piece of legislation is going to make Tether stop being Tether? I'm under no such illusion. As a matter of fact, the U.S. government could, through the SEC or the CFTC or the FinCEN or OFAC or any of those fucking organizations, say to every exchange, don't accept Tether anymore. Delist Tether. And they could actually do it. And you know what else? It would not harm Tether in the least. They lose some market share here in the United States, officially. The exchanges would stop listing them. Shops would stop accepting them where they chose to act as agents of the United States government against their own interests. But others won't. Others will do business using Tether. And make no mistake, they've tried to do this to Tether before, where they delisted them. They're just trying to make it give a legal reason why you have to delist them. Because basically they've just been telling them, delist these guys because they don't act like we think they should. And, exchanges are like, I don't know if we agree with you, maybe, I don't know. We kind of like the money that Tether's bringing into us. And you can rest assured there's going to be some exchange out there that will not delist them. It'll be some DeFi exchange or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that Tether will not disappear just because the U.S. federal government decides that it should be delisted. Because like I said, they tried that here before. It did not matter. Tether persisted. And this is one of the reasons why I think they're kind of, how should I say it? They do enforce the things that the United States government requests of them. But they don't go any further than like a banker would in stopping commerce that they know is illicit. You know, bankers let all kinds of transactions go through without doing suspicious activity reports or any of that bullshit. They do it all the time. These things are under their discretion. It's how well they actually do that job, though, that dictates, like, how they're going to be treated by the federal government. You know, if they're doing as many favors for our legislators as they are for criminals, then they're willing to look the other way. And see, this is one of the things about crypto, though, is because crypto works without government and without their approval, government officials use it all the fucking time. They probably use it more than you do. But, you know, they seem to be under the impression that they can take actions against you and it won't impair them. And they're wrong. Everybody gets wrecked in crypto. Everybody. Your legislators, the Pope, God. Everybody gets wrecked in crypto. No exceptions. I don't make this rule. It is reality. You have lived in a world of fiat where somebody, somewhere along the line, can wave a magic wand, press a button, create trillions of new units on a whim. You can't do that in crypto. Crypto, you have to work for it, or you have to provide something of equivalent value, at least to the recipient, in exchange. And if you can't do that, you need to go fuck off. And that's how crypto is. And that's why people get wrecked here. Because they come to crypto thinking, oh yeah, man, we can do credit, and we can extend all kinds of credit to you. We can count coins that we haven't mined as being coins that we've mined. You know, we could do all that, man. The only people that can even act that way are ones that have a direct connection to fiat, i.e. the Federal Reserve and so on. But the reality is there are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. And so if you don't get that next block, there's no guarantee that you're ever going to be able to pay that loan off. It's not fiat. You can't just put in your 40 hours and, you know, get a guaranteed paycheck and pay off, make a payment on that loan. You can't. You know, I say this all the time on my show on Twitch, that miners, industrial miners, they've got 4 to 6 months. In their 3 to 5 year period of existence, they have 4 to 6 months where they will be profitable. And everything other than that is incidental. They'll have a period, though, where they have dominance with the amount of hashing power that their units are producing, or the pricing that they're getting on energy or whatever. They've got a little bit of an advantage. Again, it buys them 4 to 6 months of profitability out of 3 to 5 years of operation before they go kaput. And it's my thinking that that's the result of the people that are funding them. That they're only allowed 3 to 5 years worth of VC rounds of unprofitability before their funding is terminated. And that's recently happened with Marathon. That's why they're all into AI now. They can't make enough money making money to keep the fucking lights on. Not even at over $100,000 a coin, which it was during a significant period of time when Marathon was in operation. You know, some indicators that industrial mining is not profitable. Number one, the company goes public. if y'all know anything about corporate finance or anything like that, you don't go public unless you need exogenous income. You need more income now than you can